On October 5, 1897, construction for a new ship was launched. It would be named the SS Kaiser Friedrich, which later would be named the SS Burdigala. The construction lasted from October 5, 1897 until May 12, 1898. The Kaiser Friedrich was named after the German Emperor Kaiser Friedrich III. The cost to build this magnificent ship would be roughly 88 million US dollars in 2020 money, or a little less than 68 million pounds. The builder was Ferdinand Werft. Even though the ship was built in Poland, she was one of the most stylish, sturdiest ships in Germany during the 1890s. The Kaiser Friedrich, just like all the other German ships of her time, was designed not only to serve as a passenger ship, but she was also designed to be a commercial armed cruiser for the military. People who were on her said that she was built very strongly and sturdily. While the Wilhelm der Grosse was a far better design and technology-wise, the interior design of the Kaiser Friedrich was more luxurious and sophisticated than the Wilhelm der Grosse. The 181st class cabins and 111 second class cabins were placed on the higher decks, bringing them more better views of the ocean. Some of the first class rooms would be able to be converted into temporary sitting rooms. While the ship had 180 cabins, altogether, first class could fit comfortably 400 people, along with 250 people in second class and 700 people in third class. The Kaiser Friedrich's dining room and living rooms were extravagant, with elegant chandeliers dangling from the high ceilings, with murals of the Friedrich family, along with a coat of arms on the wall. The walls were painted a shade of ivory adorned by gold ornaments, and the floor covered in cherry red carpet. When construction was completed in May of 1898, she would be going on her first voyage in a short while. Her maiden voyage will be on May 12th. It would be from Danzig, Poland to Bremerhaven, Germany. During this time, however, it was sadly discovered that the mighty ocean liner couldn't exceed 20 knots, in which her owners, Norddeutscher Lloyd, were aiming to make the speed around 22 knots or 25 miles per hour. Due to this, Norddeutscher Lloyd wouldn't let the Kaiser Friedrich be part of its fleet until it was fast enough. When the necessary changes were made, it was much faster, and it was finally accepted into Norddeutscher Lloyd's elite ship fleet, and its first transatlantic maiden voyage would be from Bremerhaven, Germany, to Southampton in the UK, and finally to New York City. The voyage would start on June 7th. After June 8th, the Friedrich left Southampton en route for New York City with 209 passengers in first and second class, with 100 in third and third class. The trip would take a devastating 7 days, 10 hours, and 15 minutes, which for the time wasn't good enough. On June 16th, she finally arrived in New York City. On June 17th, they held a press conference in her foyer. The newspaper would later state, "The Kaiser Friedrich. The fine big steamship makes her maiden trip in over 7 days. The engines easily overheated." The average vessel speed during its first transatlantic crossing was 17.73 knots, pointing out that nobody knows the actual maximum speed of the vessel. On June 25th, the Kaiser Friedrich left for its return voyage, which took even longer. The result was 9 days, 2 hours, and 30 minutes, just to reach Southampton. Due to the disappointing performance, Norddeutscher Lloyd gave the Friedrich back to Chișinău in Poland for repairs and with a goal to make the minimum speed 20 knots. Again on September 4th, 1898, the Friedrich was returned to Norddeutscher Lloyd, and on the Friedrich's second voyage it took 6 days and 12 hours, which was slightly better, but not good enough. In the winter of 1898 to 1899, the Kaiser Friedrich was returned again to Schischau's shipyard in Poland to repair some more and increase the speed to 22 knots. Norddeutscher Lloyd was getting impatient. On March 5, 1899, the Friedrich set off for its first voyage of the season. That took 7 days and 40 minutes, which again is awful. Finally, in June of 1899, Norddeutscher Lloyd finally tore up the contract and gave up. They sent the ship back to its manufacturer for informal grounds that the ship couldn't cover the terms of the contract. But it wasn't over yet. At the same time, Norddeutscher Lloyd ordered a new ship. It would be bigger and faster, but with specifications the same as the SS Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse. The new ship was the SS Kronprinz Wilhelm, which would reach the average speed of 23.09 knots. Until the delivery of this new ship, which bore the name of the Kaiser Wilhelm II's son, Norddeutscher Lloyd temporarily replaced the Kaiser Friedrich with the SS Kaiser Maria Theresia, which sank in October of 1904 during the Russian-Japanese War. Immediately after the delivery of the new ship, a long legal battle between Norddeutscher Lloyd and the Schischau Company had begun, with Norddeutscher Lloyd eventually winning. The press of the time was widely involved in this unprecedented event. The New York Times, in their article of June 28, 1899, captioned, "Kaiser Friedrich Rejected," extensively analyzes the underlying facts and causes. The general manager of the F. Schischau Company vigorously objected to the court decision, claiming that the culprit was the poor quality of coal used as fuel by the Norddeutscher Lloyd. On August 7, 1899, he wrote a letter to the chief editor of the renowned magazine, The Marine Engineer, which reads, "Dear Sir, in your esteemed journal of 1 August, page 207, you write that the Kaiser Friedrich has been withdrawn by the Norddeutscher Lloyd from the service and returned to her builders. This not being the fact, I request that you kindly to rectify it. In the next issue of your esteemed journal, according to the following data, the Kaiser Friedrich was the property of the firm F. Schischau, and in spite of her built as a high-speed passenger steamer, requiring a good quality of coal, the Norddeutscher Lloyd mostly gave her a very inferior coal. Besides, many of the stokers had no previous experience. Under these circumstances, it could not give surprise that the Kaiser Friedrich was not able to develop her full speed. And there was no other way for the firm of F. Schischau but to withdraw its steamer and give her into other hands. The SS Kaiser Friedrich will make the next voyages under the flag of the Hamburg American Line. Reiterating to you in advance my best thanks for this rectification, I remain, dear sir, yours very respectfully, F. Schischau." In later time, the Kaiser Friedrich would belong to the Hamburg American Line. In October of 1900, the Kaiser Friedrich made its last journey, where she was again returned to Schischau, in which Schischau decommissioned her, and she sat in the Hamburg harbor for years collecting dust. The Kaiser Friedrich was sitting in the harbor until 1910. During this time, a new company was on the rise. It was called the Norwegian American Line. Schischau made a proposal to Norwegian American Line, saying that if they bought the Kaiser Friedrich, that they would become a shareholder. Norwegian American Line accepted. Sadly, at the last minute, Norwegian American Line decided not to purchase because they wanted to wait for their own ships to be completed. In March of 1912, Sud-Atlantique was wanting to acquire a large, fast, and impressive ship, which would reveal the aspirations of the company and stress its authority. They found all of which in the SS Kaiser Friedrich. which they purchased from the F. Seychelles Company on the 1st of May 1912 for 4 million francs, or $114,000 in modern U.S. money, which is surprisingly cheap. L'Atlantique decided to rename the ship Burdigala after the city of Bordeaux in France. After being restored, the Burdigala would sail from Hamburg, Germany to Bordeaux, France with its last owners. When she arrived at Bordeaux, she was welcomed with great enthusiasm, considering that she was the largest and fastest ship in service in the South Atlantic at the time. She would have maintained this honorary title for a whole year. On the 26th of September 1912, the inclusion of the SS Burdigala in the fleet of the C.D. Navigation L'Atlantique was celebrated with a luxurious dinner on board. 9 days later, on October 5th, Burdigala had set off for its first journey with Buenos Aires on its final destination, flying the flag of the L'Atlantique on her mast. On the 10th of November 1912, SS Burdigala embarked on her second trip. This time she had managed to remain on track without any major problems, apart from grounding in a sandy shore of the river Garonne at the port of Bordeaux. Over the short period of time that the Burdigala served the Southern Atlantic line, she evolved into the rather distinguishing persona of maritime communications between mainland France and South America. Until this day, one can find postcards of L'Atlantique with a ship's name and photograph on it in many private collections that the emigrants were sending to their home countries to let their families know that they have arrived safely at their destination. On November 1st, 1913, SS Burdigala was decommissioned and remained as a mothball yet again at the port of Bordeaux until the War of the First World War broke out. France declared general mobilization on the 3rd of August 1914. Many of the ships were commandeered by the French government. Among them was the Burdigala. The SS Burdigala was called for war service on the 18th of August 1914. Burdigala was used as a simple troop ship to carry the soldiers from Toulon to Dardanelles and to Thessaloniki port in northern Greece. In December of 1915, the Burdigala was changed to an armed cruiser ship, equipped with QF firearms and 2 pairs of 140 caliber cannons, 2 on the bow and 2 on the stern. On the 13th of November 1916, the Burdigala sailed empty without cargo from Thessaloniki, Greece, to Toulon, France. She was captained by Francois Roland and Auguste Richard. The next day, on November 14th, 1916, at 10:45 a.m. in the morning, while the ship was about 2 nautical miles southwest of Kea Island in Greece, a midship explosion occurred on the starboard side, which flooded the engine area. While the ship had taken a 4-degree list, the captain hoped that she would sink within 20 minutes. A short while later, the situation rose when the water flooded the second boiler room. The list of the SS Burdigala increased, and the captain ordered to abandon ship. Immediately, the crew launched lifeboats in the water and abandoned ship. 15 minutes after the abandoned ship order was given, the Burdigala broke in two by a second explosion and sank off the northwest coast of Kea to a depth of 230 feet or 70 meters. The survivors of the SS Burdigala were rescued by the British destroyer ship called the HMS Rattlesnake and were transported that same afternoon to Piraeus port. Later that day, they were transferred on board the French flagship called the Battleship Province, where the first aid services were provided. Apparently, there was only one loss of life. Nicolas Lasco was a 22-year-old man born on the 22nd of November, 1893, in Marseille, France. He died from burns which he suffered after a steam pipe burst in the boiler room at the time of the explosion. The Burdigala remains at the bottom of the Kea Channel in 2 pieces. If instead that they were coming from Toulon with soldiers and war material on board, the disaster could have been much worse.